I am joined by Don Skakie, cannabis activist, and like true OG, like the OSGs of G's. Dude, so like the reason why I want to talk to you again was because, you know, through our efforts after going to MJ Biz, there's $1 billion industry out there, right? And we volunteered our time. Like I've known you since medical days where you fucking volunteer your time. You built the first dab bar, right?
I built the first dab bar.
Yeah.
Actually, the first 7 day a week dab bar.
This place was magical. Like my podcast partner doesn't believe me when I talk about how in Washington State, like it was a farmer's market, right? I mean,
right.
What was it?
Well, the first thing was, you know, we had a lull after Sensible Washington, and then that was the effort that did not legalize Washington State.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that later. Medical was legal.
Yeah.
And because it was so easy to fake an authorization, people were using medical as a cover for diversion to the unregulated market. And you know, this is why legalization is a good thing for everybody, because another thing that would happen in those days is if you were just a patient and you were growing, you know, it was 15 plants was typical.
Okay.
And let's say you were my roommate and we had a third roommate, you know, or more. You have 4, 6. So suddenly you're at 60, 75, you know, 90 plants.
Yeah.
Whatever. So people would grow, people would find out that you're growing, and then you'd have grow rips.
Yeah.
Where people would home invade, and you know,
true story.
They'd steal your shit, and
I mean,
threaten you and everything else. And if it wasn't those people, it was the cops busting your door down.
Yeah.
And destroying your house, and you know, taking your kids.
And you were just trying to like you know, like Lance Lord, right? Like the brick and mortar. And having to grow. I mean, obviously, there's got to be growth somewhere, right? It's got to come somewhere, right? And you're not trying to hide it. That was the whole thing I thought was sad, too, about, like, the beginning of medical, where people were trying to be out front, right? People were trying to,
legitimate. They felt that the law protected them, and it really was the farthest thing from protection.
Yeah.
But it was, so patients would get arrested.
Yeah.
They'd be charged with felonies that could, you know, you'd lose your right to vote. You'd lose everything. They could confiscate your home. You know, they could seize. The asset seizure was huge.
There was no protections.
No. Yeah. But when you got to trial, then you got in front of the judge. It was only at that point where your attorney, if you're smart enough to have an attorney, because you needed an attorney, would say, you know, this is a medical cannabis patient, and this, you know, this trial should take into account the fact that this person has been authorized by their doctor to engage in this activity, and the state recognizes that.
Yeah.
And so that was where the conversation started to really happen publicly.
Oh, yeah. And unfortunately, it didn't help Lance in his federal case, or even the Kettle Falls 5, right? Like we've had people in Washington State who have been raided, and that was so dumb with the Kettle Falls because the dad had cancer, like he was dying. They dropped charges on him because he's dying, but we're gonna fuck the other 4 people, like the kids and the wife. Like the sense of justice, right? Like the urgency for real fairness is always off at this fucking plant.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh, and there was no consistency in enforcement.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lived on the west side of the mountains,
oh God,
you were pretty much scot-free.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, you go over to the east side.
Oh yeah.
And you get over on, you know, Sodom County, and you could be doing life in prison.
Yeah. Well, I remember I used to be a traveling technician back then in Spokane. I used to think having my script was like having the coolest backstage pass. So,
right.
You know, because like you'd find the nearest pot shop, or maybe someone on Craigslist is willing to fucking bring it to you. and, have your
home
store.
delivery.
Yeah, I mean, there's many ways to always. You knew there was ways to get it, but yet, like, you still kind of like question the source, or like, are you a cop?
Right.
Or going to rip me off, or hurt me somehow.
Right. And this was pre-testing.
Yeah.
So what is on my cannabis? I mean, is there?
Yeah.
What was that one? Starts with an A. I forget it, but it was when you would get mites or whatever in your room.
Oh.
And they would call nuking it.
Yeah.
You'd nuke the room.
Yeah.
And that shit, nobody should be smoking that.
No, or like the Eagle 22 shit.
Eagle 22, right?
That one. Okay, yeah. Well, there's many others. Yeah, like toxic. Well, right. Even with the hemp industry, that's part of the issue where the guys that are bending the rules, I think they're not good.
That's our people, though. We like to bend the rules.
No, but for real though, I mean, that's kind of how we got where we're at, right? Like that's because. And again, like why I wanted to talk to you and focus on you, because you truly are somebody who has intent of the plant, has intent for the law, like fairness, right? Like, besides the volunteering you did for the medical markets in HempFest, where I've seen you at,
and the initiatives.
But that's what I was going to lead to, is especially homegrown, right? Like,
right.
You and Kingsbury were the only two that took initiative, and I think you really caused a nationwide conversation when it came to things, which most people don't realize. Like, no one was fucking talking about homegrown before you. Like, we all wished we had homegrown.
Everybody wished, but nobody did anything.
Or even said, like, this should be part of the rules, right? Just like the medical script and having an affirmative defense.
Yeah.
Having a plant legal amount is something that, it's still sketch. But and then who speaks up for the citizens, right? And you did find allies with the Cannabis Alliance and other big organizations that's where the players are at, right?
And we still don't have homegrown.
Still don't have homegrown.
It's still, for those of you that don't know, in Washington State, even though you can grow medically, if you're not medically authorized and grow a single plant, it's not enforced this way.
No.
But in some back corner of Eastern Washington, where you got a sheriff that grew up with prohibition, that gets a bug up his butt, you can. Yeah. It's a felony.
Still arrestable. Now, I haven't heard of anybody ever getting arrested so far off it, but I mean, like, not direct stories. It's always like a guy, I know a guy, right?
Right.
Like, show me the article, show me the case number so I can look it up. But
there was less than a handful of people in prison for pot anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, for what we would consider personal possession amount.
Growing or any of that. Like, it's not it really is the
in Washington State.
Yeah, in Washington State only, right? Yeah. Like, how many Iowa plates do you see at the fucking border?
Well,
Idaho, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
honestly, I went to Boise Hemp Fest.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, and I was speaking there, and I had a little medical issue pop up, and I kind of didn't follow through, but I got to give props to Sarah Frank.
Yeah, 100%.
She put together the Boise Hemp Fest. She's involved with promoting legalization in Idaho now.
Yeah.
And she has brought in other people like myself. Not only from Washington State, but from all over. I got, Joy Beckerman.
Yes.
The Hempress.
Yes.
Right.
Hempress. Yes.
She hooked me up with some people in New York State.
Okay.
And in New Jersey. Now, New Jersey, their efforts are still ongoing.
Okay.
But in New York State, we just gave them, the work that John Kingsbury and I were doing.
Oh, yeah.
We gave them that as a model.
Okay.
And some of our language made it into New York's law.
Nice.
It was great.
And again, this is we're fighting for fundamental just normalcy. Like
right.
It's so dumb. where we're at. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we literally sell it like beer and wine over the counter.
Yeah.
If you're 21 and older, you can go into a regulated store and come out with weed and go home and smoke it. But,
And the world hasn't ended, right?
No,
like people
it
do.
hasn't.
And as a matter of fact, Canada, Tom and I were talking about an article, some studies where the illicit market is fading out, but yet the kids are still getting high. Like that's always the kids are going to drink, they're going to smoke.
But underage or what? And actually, this was something that language is an important thing in the law.
Yeah.
So children are typically considered to be preteens.
Okay.
And young people are typically considered to be under 21.
Oh, okay.
So, and in the terms of the law of adulthood, young people are over 18 because they are legally adults. But if they're under 21, then they're just young people.
Well, the term of art too with adult use, right? Recreational versus adult use.
Oh, stop! Let's can we stop calling it recreational? I go water skiing for recreation. I do other stuff for recreation. But you and I grew up in the same generation.
Yeah.
We would not if you haven't seen the original Reefer Madness.
Oh God, yeah.
Go see it because it literally shows people like smoking weed in closets and rooms with the towel under the door and completely below the radar. But you would call up, because I got high when I was young.
Yeah.
And, in school. And we would get a $10 lid.
Oh God.
That you would measure by the fingers in the baggie.
Yeah.
And we'd call up and say, hey man, I've got some weed or grass or ganj or whatever you wanted to call it at the time. You want to get high? And we would go and we'd get high, but we weren't just sitting around smoking.
Oh yeah.
We were talking. We were laughing and joking.
Yeah.
We were having conversations, deep conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't out water skiing.
No, I get it. It's all, and then also
so social. It's a social aspect, and I think that is what most governments are trying to strip away from our people.
Sure.
And our cause. The social aspect.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is a huge thing that's not served. It's actually illegal in Washington State. Nevada and other states are looking at social consumption lounges.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great because if you don't want it on the streets, if you don't want it in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Well, if you live in government housing, if you live in an apartment or any housing where the landlord says you better not be smoking weed in here, where are you supposed to go? What are you supposed to hang out? You can't even be like a cigarette smoker and hang out in a shelter. You need a place like a bar, like a social consumption lounge.
Oh yeah. No, 100%.
So
somebody I saw on Reddit. Somebody said something about how it's still illegal in Washington State unless you're a homeowner, right? That's just flat out. Unless you're a homeowner.
Unless you got a good landlord.
Well, yeah, no, but technically, right? Like just anywhere, like unless you own the home. You don't have rights to consume cannabis, right? Not even at least in Canada, they got fucking no smoking signs at public parks, or some have public smoking. They allow you, right? Like there's that differential, but
smoking areas.
Yeah, here we fucking
enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, it's the law. We're indoors. Yeah, it's frustrating, but also it is an educational issue.
She said, "How dare you?" Attach criminal intent to my constituents.
Oh, very good. Wow. Nice. She
was amazing.
Do you think we'll see
yes.
Well, a place like Oregon, they've doubled their limits, right?
Yep.
Like possession limits. We have, and the only time I see real bills that make it like maybe a little noise are like the dumb people want to tax per THC or cap THC percent.
Cap. trying to cap the limit on THC.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. I just,
It's not orange juice. It's not, it's different plants. They come out different. They're going to be different.
But it's not an issue.
They're not widgets, right?
Yeah, it's not. If something's an issue, that's when rules should come about, right?
Right.
Not like we're going to pretend issues are happening or whatever. So, like, we had to kind of do it with the 5 nanogram shit, right? Because there's no studies, right? And then that was Holocom's big thing was like, look, people want to have a punishment. People want to have a reason, like a limit.
Yeah.
Like what
they want a bright line and guardrails.
Yeah.
This is legislative language.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So you need to create a bright line for the law enforcement.
Yeah, and
the public. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's always like we did something new, but also at the same time, there were so many fucking like you guys started the first dab bars and everything, but after that, the gates were off. I mean, I was doing dabs every fucking dispensary I went to. Yours, they were called the wasn't it just the Northwest Cannabis Club though, right?
Okay, so the Northwest Cannabis Market, started in White Center, expanded to
that's right, Market
there, and then we got shut down in Seattle because we weren't licensed.
Yeah,
and we actually got called into the mayor's, one of the deputy mayors, having a conversation. The whole staff went in. Mike came in, brought the whole staff in for the meeting. And we thought we were there to negotiate.
Yeah.
And Mike's intent was, okay, you guys are the regulators. We are the business that is, we've filled this empty warehouse. We're paying rent on this warehouse.
Yeah.
The Italian bakery next door is selling more baked goods and deli sandwiches than they've ever seen.
It made the area safer, honestly.
It did make the area safer.
Yeah.
And this has actually been California studied that when any legalization, any licensee or cannabis retail comes into an area, crime actually goes down.
Yeah. And especially where that was in White Center was considered a bad area at that time. That's
right. Oh, we brought that. I mean, go look at it now.
Yeah.
We brought that whole area up.
I mean, the
barbecue guy next door, he was happy.
Yeah, the traffic, people coming through, and then after they leave the fucking pot shop, they would go shopping, right?
Right.
Like it was
or go have lunch,
or have a beer at the bar.
We got the lunches now.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place, like a good experience. And also they made like you guys went to this meeting. They weren't there to negotiate, right? They were there to tell
right. They were there. The guy said, he said, "Look, you're not surviving this.
Yeah.
We are. This meeting is not about having you operate. It's having about you not operate."
Well, I remember.
So we walked out of there kind of deflated.
Yeah.
And we shut down in September, and then White Center because Seattle's one entity and King County's another.
Yeah.
But once we got shut down in Seattle, it was December when we got shut down there. And then Mike says, "Well, all right, so what do we do?" And I had been active in Oregon with Paul Stanford. Shout out to Paul Stanford and his
Cannabis Common Sense. Yeah.
Oregon Cannabis Tax Act and the hemp stock.
Yes. Oh, such a good time.
Well, hemp stock was the version of Hemp Fest in Oregon at Kelly Point Park. Great event.
Beautiful event.
At the park. And they regulated them out of Kelly Point Park.
Yeah.
They put them right down the waterfront, and then they regulated them right off the waterfront. And
they kept squeezing them out, and that's the other thing about this Canada. Funny how the two legal states, right? And they just squeeze the culture. They're like, we're gonna.
It's like Hemp Fest. Seattle made it impossible for them. It was more regulation every year.
They brought in so much traffic, so much tourism.
Paul was working on, I believe it was ballot measure 91 in Oregon that did pass, but he put on a music event to raise money, and our people are great, but they don't like to spend money.
Yeah.
They like to spend money on weed.
Free stuff's good.
But legalizing weed, they don't want to spend money on it.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, he didn't recoup the money. He used to give $50,000 a year to HempFest.
Oh yeah.
And so with that money gone, that's when there was less stages.
Yeah. Well, and COVID killed it
else.
in the end. I mean, they made it so hard because I'm talking to Vivian. They were, negotiating permits a year ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
Like nickel and diming them, and that was the thing. It's like every cannabis. So like with Mike, when it was the market first,
right? So we got shut
Galaxy,
down,
and then you go to the
right. So because of my time in Oregon, I had been spending time at the world famous
that's right.
Cannabis Cafe, which was a members club of patients originally, that had been created by Madeline Martinez and other people like blanking. But it was a nice little venue downstairs.
Okay.
And but I had a dab there. This girl says, "Oh, you want to hit this?" I'm like, "Well, it's not really my thing, but okay." And I could see it, and I was looked at it, and when she put the dab onto the hot thing, that smoke was instantly so intense, and I mean, it was packed white with smoke. It wasn't just like, it's not like the swirlwind where you can see the smoke.
Yeah.
All you could see was smoke.
Okay.
And I ended up coughing for an hour and a half. This is in a basement.
Oh.
It was like coughing for an hour and a half until I could get out into the fresh air.
Oh my God.
And then I coughed for another hour. That was my last real dab,
But that was like your inspiration for the
Yeah, so Madeline had that club, and it was like $5 entry fee. And so Mike and I went down there. He had been looking at a couple venues, and he said, "I want you to look at this place with me." So we drove down there one day, and it was an old dance club.
Yes.
And it was 5,400 square feet on 2 floors, and it had a parking lot.
It was badass. I love it.
It was great.
Yeah.
So we had we put a fence across the parking lot.
Okay.
And we had another 1,200-foot outdoor deck with covered seating, some fire pits.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah. I saw with the deck before. I didn't even know that was you added that.
We had a stage. We had music. We had comedy. Cool. We were having industry events.
Yeah.
We would have, they would rent out the place.
Yeah, yeah.
So we sold lifetime memberships for like $5 and then $5 a day.
It was such a cool.
And we had corporate memberships for like $1,000.
Okay.
And then that bought you, I think, you got a one day a year included in your membership as a corporate sponsor to do any event you wanted on.
Nice.
So that was great, and they just made it impossible for us. We were right up against the fire department. And,
I remember that.
So we got a fire department. We had the fire department came in. They gave us an annual inspection.
Oh fuck.
3 times in the first year. 3 annual inspections
in 1 year. Well, the fucking cannabis people always get so fucked with, and to top it off with things for Mike. One of the things I saw was kind of humiliating and degrading. Like it was a fuck you to you guys when the sheriff's department gave that press conference at the White Center right in front of right across the street from you guys. Like I thought that was the most fucked up thing when they announced the closure after SB 5052. Because that's where they streamlined everything, required all the licenses, narrowed the market for patients, right?
Right.
And when they did that little press conference, and I saw that live, I was like, man, that's fucked up.
They had a little satellite office, a little
precinct. Right there. Yeah, the sheriff.
And the sheriff was cool with us.
Yeah, no, the sheriff. I always thought that was amazing. When I was scared at first. I was scared at first when I saw the sheriff's office, but then you get used to it, and it's kind of like HempFest, where like a mile and a half, and then the cops are patrolling, and they don't care what you're doing as long as you're not doing anything bad.
Right.
It's like so.
One of my main jobs on a day-to-day basis was checking authorizations at the door.
Yeah.
And Chris Cody had his. He had a table, And he had his dispensary was right across the street.
Oh, I didn't know he had a table and the
Yeah,
dispensary.
right across the street.
That's so funny. Well,
So, but one day,
oh,
you know, because people would line up to come in, and you know,
yes,
you'd run through his. You had to check the ID. You had to look. You know, is this person that person? Is that name on the authorization the same?
right.
And then that's when we came in with the crow cards. We're just a
Oh
quick.
yeah,
You had to have your ID
cards.
and your crow card.
Yeah,
And that sped things up. Over 4.5 years between both locations, we did 2.5 million patient visits.
Damn, dude.
There.
This guy's so old school.
Yeah.
You know, you can send him snail mail and he'll fucking sell you a pipe. But check out Don Skakie. I'll put a comment, his name. He's easy to Google. And thanks for hanging.